In this video, we're going to break down the three greatest lessons we've learned in building a $3 million coaching business as Kingdom entrepreneurs. Let's get into this. Corey, I mean, God has done some amazing things in our lives, but we recently learned something very valuable that we want to share to our audience right now. And we started something new, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a new thing because it's called Kingdom Coach University, and it's a brand new launch of a community mastermind on a totally different platform. And I want to talk a little bit about the three top lessons that God has taught us in 2023. Let's kind of dive into this. Let's talk about number one. Um we've invested over $350,000 in mentorship, in masterminds, in marketing in the past 3 years. What have you learned here in lesson number one?
Man, one is know what you want and why. And Twan, I remember we were on a boat with one of our mentors. I think it was in Florida,
Yep.
West Palm Beach. And we were asking him, like, hey, what advice would you give us on this journey? That was after, we've done $1 million a year and we were on this run. We never done this before, by the way, y'all. I come from a family where we are workers, right? Go to school, go to college, get a degree, work for 40 years, retire, which is pretty cool, right? But for me, it wasn't that path. And one of the things he said is know what you want
Mm.
and why. It was so profoundly simple, though, Toward. I mean, like, think about it, y'all. Think about this. What do you really want in life? Like, write this down with a pen if you have one. Hey, what do I want, and why do I want it?
Yeah, that's so key because I talked to so many coaches just throughout this year. And most coaches, the only thing they know is, I just want to build a profitable coaching business. But that's not going to get you there. And the reason why is when the rubber meets the road and you don't have a strong enough reason why, you'll always forget. Some questions I love sharing there on the journey is, write down right now, what is your goal? Like, for an example, do you want to make $10,000 per month, $20,000 per month? I'm just using that as a mile marker, right? But you always want to work backwards from that goal, especially if you're trying to build a coaching business that's profitable. And once you write down that goal, I want to give you two questions that really are profound, right? Question number one: what would life look like when you achieve that goal?
Mm,
See? What would
yeah.
life look like? What good can you do? How would your life change when you achieve this goal, whether it's making $10,000 or $20,000 per month? And my second question would be, what would life look like if you don't hit your goals? The reason why I share this, Corey, is because most people are driven by pleasure or they're driven by pain. And for me and you, I think we're driven by both. I'm driven by the pain of not lacking because as a provider, I just got married. I want to build this legacy for my family, and I want to have influence at the same time. I want to be successful, and there's this fear that I have of just not having enough
Bro.
to just to build the life that I want, to give back to the church. Like, nothing hurts me more when I'm sitting in the church pew and our pastor's going out and he's like casting vision. Maybe it's like, they're doing a new build project for the building and they're asking for tithes. And since I remember many moments where I wasn't making any money,
Yeah. It's
and
painful, huh?
it's painful because you want to be able to honor the Lord with, your tithes, but you can't do that as a coach that's not making any money.
Right, right. That's why it's essential to know what you want and why. Is because you think about goal setting is like one of those processes. Like, we intellectually think about goals, but are we bringing God into those goals?
Yeah.
And I think when we go awry, when we don't bring God into our goals, or what's His will right now?
Yep.
Not only just His will for my life, but what is God doing around me right now? What am I seeing, and that I can actually get involved in what He does, and how can I take that and blend it with my calling and my goals for my life? Because Twan, just like you, for me, I'm married, I have 5 kids, and it's one of those things. The painful moments I remember one time when I was taking my sons to swim lessons, and one of them got in the pool. The other one was, I guess he was about maybe 5 or 6 years old. That's when I had 2 at that time. And he wanted to go to swim lessons. And look, I was in the Navy for 8 years. So I kind of done what I was supposed to do. I was working in corporate at the time, but I didn't have enough money to pay for him to get into swim lessons. So he comes up to me with his 35 cents in his hand and says, "Daddy, I got money."
Man.
But and I look back at that and I think about all of the people in this world that's suffering just like I was as well, that want to make a living. They want to launch a business. They want to be a coach. And we talk to hundreds of coaches every single month. And
Yeah.
the big thing we find is in the marketplace, there's not a realistic goal. Like I'll ask coaches and they're kingdom coaches, y'all, and it's totally fine to have a monetary goal, but they'll say, well, I just want to go help people. Well,
Yeah.
we were the same way. We said, hey, I just want to go help people. I want to serve, serve, serve. And then what that got us, we got paid with a Whataburger coupon. That's a
Man.
burger joint down here in the South. There's some in the North as well. But if you're familiar with it, we got paid with a Whataburger coupon because we didn't know when to serve, when to sell. And we thought just because God gave us these gifts, we should do it for free. But guess what? Jesus already paid it all. Why were we trying to pay it?
Mm. Man, those burgers are pretty good too, but
They were.
not for our coaching services. I want to give you guys a Bible reference when it comes to knowing what you want and why you want it. It comes from Proverbs 29, verse 18. It says, "Where there's no vision, people perish." I think that's one thing to really look into as we step into this new season of growth is what is it that you really want? Why do you want it? And then you work your way backwards from there in taking the necessary steps to achieving that goal. And of course, really seeking out God for
Yeah.
the right mentors, the right methods, and then just building on that foundation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about number 2. This is a really juicy one, and I'm going to be fully transparent here. You're going to hear some things that most coaches won't tell you because they're not supposed to tell you like the truth of the coaching industry. But I think this has been a long time coming for me and Corey too, of just lesson number 2 is who are you becoming? Okay. I call this identity crisis in 2023. Okay. Let me just start off with this. After investing over $350,000 in coaching and mentorship, learning from some of the greatest marketing leaders, some gurus in the industry, you can probably say we've learned a lot of stuff. Some good, some bad, some really weird stuff too along the way. Not everybody was Christian. Some people that were Christian weren't really Christian. You met some really spammy Christians, some false Christians, some people that were just all about get rich fast, and they sold you like these crazy products and
With a guarantee that didn't work.
yeah, and just left you high and dry. Maybe that's you. Maybe you invested into some programs where people represented the kingdom. They said they were believers of Jesus, but they really weren't. They're like false prophets, clothed in sheep's clothing, but they were really inwardly
Wolves.
ravenous as wolves. I think this is a good topic because if you're a coach right now and you're looking to grow your business, you're going to invest in some type of coaching program. Here's where I want you to be very careful is the scripture that comes to mind is Romans 12, 1 through 2. And I'll just paraphrase it. It says, do not be conformed to the world, but be renewed by the,
Be transformed.
Be
Yeah,
transformed.
Yep, by the renewing of your mind, right?
This is so key because it's easy to adopt false identities on this journey. Okay.
Mm.
Meaning that God created you to be original. And I'm not against investing in learning because you need information, right? But you need to be careful in who you're becoming because it's easy to build without the foundation of God and come in and ask God to bless it.
Man, and that just strikes a chord because I think from a humanistic standpoint, we want to build and we want to know that we're in the will of God. But think about this. Are we really in the will of God of everything we're doing? Unless we really focus on what he's wanting to accomplish in our lives. And it just goes back to saying, okay, well, how do I slow down and I start renewing my mind so I can be transformed by the renewing of his word. And then so I can prove what is God's will, which is the good and perfect will of God. Because during this time, we're learning from a lot of people and no doubt all those things are influential in your life. So I would say this, it's not it's sometimes it's who you learn from is more important than what you learn, because you got to figure out like, okay, who am I learning from? Who am I becoming? Because all of us want to be doing half. We want to
Right.
be something. We want to have things. We want to do things. But in order to do things and have the things that we want, we got to become
Right.
the person of value. We got to become the person that God has wanted us to do. All throughout Scripture, you'll see how God has like worked with Moses to become this servant, to become this leader, worked with Joshua to become this strong and courageous, mighty warrior. Like he had to tell him 3 times. Gideon, he has to tell, Elijah, Elisha, he's working through it. He never left them.
Yeah.
But the key thing is they were in the hall of faith in Hebrews 11 is because they were on a mission to become everything God wanted them to become inside their particular marketplace.
Yeah. So my question is, who are you becoming? Let me ask you this question, Corey. Does that mean that it's not okay to learn from the world, or is it, or do you think that there's a level of discernment where maybe I invest in learning something from a coach that's not a believer, but he has a strategy, he has wisdom in helping me grow my business. Now we don't have the same core values of like following Jesus. Is there a right and a wrong there, or do you have to choose a mentor that is like straight follower of Jesus, and that's the only
Yeah.
way you can learn, but his methods don't work?
Well, I'm just gonna put it this way: like if you needed to have brain surgery and you had a choice of
Right.
somebody that had all the dexterity, all the they're the most successful surgeon out there. All of their patients had 100% survivability, and then you had somebody that was just and the focus on Jesus, but they didn't know what they were doing. Who would you go to? I
Yeah.
mean, but I said this because you kind of got to think through it. Like the world has taken the principles of God and the principles of the kingdom and used those principles to get to the wealth that they have today. And
Mm.
sometimes we look up and we say, "Man, what? This guy's not even a Christian. He's not even a kingdom person, but they are building wealth." Well, because God's principles never
That's
fail.
so good.
And it doesn't matter. Like, think about the Tower of Babel. They weren't Christians. They weren't believers. They weren't kingdom people, kingdom builders, right? But what happened was they came together using principles that God has already placed in this earth. And God had to stop them from building and confuse their language so they could not communicate
Mm.
the things that they were communicating, which remember in scripture said when 2 or 3 are gathered, he's
Yeah.
there, right? And you pretty much can do anything. So with those people that we're learning from, we were really good about kind of taking in what can we learn from marketing principles and everything else, but then all of a sudden shift it and transform it to, okay, how do I place God in this, and how do I make sure that the kingdom is represented right? I remember we were at one event. They gave us crystals. They gave everybody crystals. I remember
Yeah,
when
money
we had those in
crystals.
our bag. We were like, "Hold on, man, what are we taking these crystals for?" We took them all the way to the hotel. Quite honestly, what do
Yeah.
we do? Throw them
Throw it
away in
the
the
trash.
trash. But
They
but
look cool.
they were cool crystals.
They
But
look
I'm not gonna
expensive.
put a money
Right.
crystal and stuff. And they were nice looking crystals. And the people that we were learning from, real nice people. And but at the same time I remember we were at that event. We were like, man, I hope they don't do those breathing exercises. But I'm not saying that to condemn those folks. But I'm saying is you have to be mindful. And if you have God's spirit in you, that the Holy Spirit will discern for you, and then you can make those right decisions
Yeah.
and make the choices necessary.
You know what's cool about that is I'm not speaking against any of those programs that we're in because we learned a lot. It really helped us grow our business.
And we're good for the journey.
It was good for the journey. What I will say is this: God calls us to go into the world, right? And that's a big part of kingdom entrepreneurship. Is we have the faith, the confidence. We're called to be salt and light in this dark, dark world. What I love about it is people recognize us as kingdom builders
Bro,
in these
they
communities.
do. They send this people like, hey, they Christian. Hey, go talk to Torn and
It's,
Cord.
it's crazy
That was a
because
cool thing.
it's crazy because we're probably the only ones that actually truly represent it. But when we step into these mastermind events, it's like all these people come out the woodworks, like, "Hey, man, I'm a believer too. I'm a believer too, bro." And they just don't rep like we do. They don't kind of, their marketing statement's a little bit different than ours. But man, there's a lot of kingdom builders out there that are just working behind the scenes that are in these masterminds too.
And that was one of the biggest lessons. Like in the beginning of the journey, y'all, we focused on everybody. We said, hey, we're going to go help coaches. Then all of a sudden we came to this consistency, like, you know what, Corey, it's one we already attracting kingdom people. We were attracting people that was Christian. And what happened was we ended up saying, you know what, let's go all in. I remember the nervous thing. We had to change our ads. We had to change our marketing
Yeah.
strategy. We had to we put kingdom and everything on it. And we thought we was going to get a bunch of negative comments because you see that on ads, y'all. No doubt.
Yep.
Like people who said, we haven't really, I don't even remember one negative comment on an ad. But what I do remember is hockey stick growth. I remember that once we went and said, look, we're going to go all in. We're going to go talk, you know, we're going to represent the kingdom out there in the marketplace, a marketplace ministry, so to speak, where we came. It was a hockey stick growth.
Right.
And our business we went from 0 to 100K, and then, you know, literally 3 months. And then we just continue to grow from there. Now, on that journey, gang, y'all got to realize that Twan and I, we had some great successes and we had some high highs and some low lows.
Yep.
Well, we had to like check ourselves and say, hey, look, you got to get back representing the kingdom. But that's what
Facts.
you're going to learn.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that in the journey of faith, not tested is not worth following. And faith get tested through all the things that we've done, and our ability to believe God has gotten tested. And when it got tested, we were able to center it back and say, look, let's get back to the principles of God.
Yeah, man. So good. That leads me to lesson number 3 is what foundations are you building upon? Are you seeking mammon or God? I love this because, you know, as we step into this high ticket coaching space, you put yourself in rooms where people are making lots and lots of money. I mean, lots and lots of money. I remember our first high ticket mastermind was $24,000. We were barely making $10,000 to $20,000 per month, and we were struggling doing that. Now, God places us in a room where people were averaging 6 figures per month. We were sitting down with a guy that was making $500,000 per month, and we were like, "Wait, do we even belong in this place?" And there's some pros and cons of being in these type of environments. Some pros that really helped me was understanding that it is possible to make this type of money.
Yeah.
Because you saw entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants doing it over and over and over. It gave us that belief that we could do it. But here's the danger, though. Y'all ready? The danger is you start wanting to build without God. And now you start building things without God. And then you ask God on the back end to come in and bless it.
Can you bless the Lord?
Can you bless the Lord? And I think as kingdom entrepreneurs, it's easy for us to get caught up with even like the Christian lingo because we know exactly what to say. We know what to pray. But what foundations are you building on? That's why money is the second most powerful thing in this world. That's why God says you can't serve 2 masters. And there were many times on this journey where we had crazy 6-figure multiple months. And then we had months where we're like, what just happened? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think that phrase, you know, money is a poor master, but a good slave, I guess you could say, because that's how you got to kind of think about it too. And quite honestly, on this journey, like even the guy that we first met, we still connected to him. He gave us some great advice, and guess what? He's a kingdom builder. I mean, like he's sharing. For him, he shares his church services. He does all these different things on his profile. He's not outright as saying, "Hey, I'm a kingdom entrepreneur," but I can see it in him. And then we've met people on the journey who are real big time kingdom entrepreneurs, and they're true to God, and they've made, you know, $15 million in a year. But what it did, it showed us that you can do that. Like you can make money and also serve God, because as long as you're not serving money, like money doesn't become your master. Money is your slave. Money is what you can use, a tool you use to give to the poor. Or give to nations. You know, for us, one of the most things I'm most proud of, not just building a business, you know, $3 million business in 3 years, which is truly unheard of, but being able to give back to like feed the hunger. Man, we fed over 10,000 people during our monthly challenges when we were doing those challenges, those 3 and 5 day challenges, and people that were buying VIP tickets. We were transferring a lot of that to 60 meals per ticket and feeding over 10,000. So, like, guess what? We couldn't do that had we not had the ability to donate and to these people, right?
Yeah, that's so good right there. I want to leave you guys one more verse here for lesson number 3 on foundations. It's Proverbs 10:22. It says, "The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow to it."